Yeah, and the dogs.
And the dogs.
They were hanging out with your dog.
Yeah. And he finally walked in the door without me having to drag him today. Took all that time.
It took 5 days, didn't it?
Yeah.
Introduce yourself, sir.
Yeah, my name is Joe Hopwood.
Okay.
I'm from Magnolia Springs, Alabama. Came down here to trade in a Jabiru for a Chevrolet or Viking
140.
140T.
And that one's available, right? It's sitting here on a pallet if somebody wants it.
That's right.
Yeah.
And that's the full thing. It's flying good. Flew me down here to do it, so.
All right. And then we put the baby turbo in here, and we worked together on that. And we just went flying, and now you're going to fly on your own.
Yep. Sounds good.
And you're heading where?
Headed to, well, the first place will be Foley Perry for fuel, and then on in to Collier Air Park, which is where I live.
Okay. And we'll stay in touch with you to see how everything's going with the new engine.
Super.
All right. Thanks again.
Thank you.
We'll see you soon.
Joe, thank you.
Good one, man.
In order to use the Viking engine, you have a small header tank in the airplane where your entire fuel system, such as drains and pumps and returns and everything takes place inside this little tank. Now, the tank has to be full of fuel all the time, and you can't just like get gravity feed from the left tank and the right tank and then think that that's going to flow in reliably unless you get air out of the header tank. And the simplest way to do that is just run a line from the top of the header tank to the top of the wing tank. And some airplanes already have the bungs, some already have the hoses there if they used to have an ejected engine in there. This airplane had a bung. We could feel it through the filler neck, and we just took the skin off. It's actually a very quick thing to do. Take the rivets out of just the top part of the front wing skin, fold it back, lift the tank out, vacuum everything out, clean it all up, put the new fittings in there, and then just run an aluminum vent line into the airplane. And that makes it a reliable system where you don't have to worry about the header tank not getting the continuous gravity feed that it needs to stay safe. Alright, so we just pulled all the rivets out of the top skin because we knew that we had a bung right there, so we're going to make that our vent. Tank is out. Alright, so we finished the fuel tank setup. I'm going to close it back up. We pull the tank. We put in a just a 3/8 piece here, heavy wall aluminum. Notched that in, brought it across the tank and out here, and looped it around so there wouldn't be any kink in the hose, and back into the existing bung that happened to be in this tank right there. So we were able to use the existing tank with the bung out here to vent it, and we didn't go down, we went up, so it's never have fuel in it. It'll just be a really good vent for the header tank. And then we changed to 5/16 right there, and that's already been routed into the airplane. And then this guy, we just bent it forward a little bit so we could avoid the structural part of the airplane right there. And then that's ready for venting to the header tank. So we'll do that only on one side to get a good vent. All right, so let's weigh the engines. It's on its mount here, and we've got this set at 0. I know this scale is accurate because we weigh all kinds of things with it. So that's just engine and mount, and a cooler, oil cooler, but whatever needs to be on there to fly it. Okay, so now that's hanging. And all right, so we got one, let me stabilize it, 197, 196, so that's the baffles, the starter, a mount, oil cooler, filter. All right, so now we'll put on all the other stuff that came off the engine so that it's a true flying weight. All right, so we take 2 pounds off of the box, and let's see here. We've got it hanging. We've got exhaust, air cleaner, gascolator, some ducting for the heating system and the cooling system, elbow for the carburetor, a battery strap. So that's what we got. So there's still more over here. We've got here all the hardware for mounting stuff, and a battery, but let's just not count the battery, but we'll put this hardware stuff on here. Goodie bag, we call that. All right. Up. Let's see. How can I keep that in here? Maybe like right there. What we got now?
220.
All right, 220. So as you can see, guys, it doesn't matter really, what someone says a weight is. Oh, the Jabiru weighs 170 pounds. And if you were to actually take that as nobody's lying. It's just that you need more stuff, by the time you actually get airborne. And that's just how it is with every engine. There's all kinds of things.
And it gained a pound already.
It gained a pound, yeah. Yeah, so we're at 220 without the box. And another 5 pounds in voltage regulators and solenoids and cables. So close to 230 total for everything. So here's the header tank, and we have little brackets underneath to clear the floor. We have the return line for the high pressure through the orifice. Everything is like, if you study these pictures, on the tank with a little extension to make it easy to put it into the airplane and have everything in one place without having to worry about it. So many things to show you. Here's the cutout for the cowling, just to get some air in and out of the bottom of the cowling. It is so easy to put the batteries just in front of the hellhole underneath when you use the battery tray from Viking. It just fits perfectly in there. A couple of screws and you're done. I don't know, when you're done with a project, this is what it looks like. Every tool is out, everything. And here we are setting up the VIP variable pitch prop and dialing that in for this airplane. Added a little scooper thing on the radiator, which we have invented. And here we are out flight testing, making everything good. Tweaking the cowling, getting air in, getting air out is equally important. And we're doing everything we can to make it perfect. And then finally, off, going back home. Windy out here, but let's do a little review of the airplane that we just finished. And it had the Jabiru, which is now out. We did put a vent in this wing. We took the skin off, ran a 3/8 pipe across and tied it into the vent here that was already there. The bung was there. You can see the vent right here coming out right there, going into the top of the header tank. And then we have feed lines going in like we normally do with filters to the bottom of the header tank. We raised this header tank up a little bit, put some plastic lines or snapped some slotted brake lines on the cable so they could run right next to the tank. Made little hold downs. The header tank is consistent of the vent like we saw there, the feed line to the traditional that we always use splitter there, the check valve assembly. You got a couple of check valves. So out of the, let's see here, out of the, the pump to the check valve, out of the other pump to the check valve, we have a return in case there's overpressure from it sitting in an orifice, 10 thousandths orifice behind this hose that just bleeds pressure off when it sits. And then we have the feed line coming off the front, and it goes through the firewall where the old gasculator was. And then the fuel system is then completed by exiting the firewall. And we reused some things. There was a hole in the firewall here, we reused it. And then we had to come over to his fuel flow transducer and pressure sensor. And then from there we go up to the engine. And we do use the original GM hose here because it has a check valve right there that we also need to incorporate. And that's the fuel system. And then in addition to that, of course, we have the wiring for it, which we put some people don't like to put bus bars next to fuel and all that, but it's pretty safe because first of all, the kind of hoses and stuff we use, and there are no arcing or sparking or anything like that. So we have a ground bus there. We run power to this pump, power to that pump, and switches for that, like the traditional layout we have: battery, fuel, alternator, and heat. So this has to be up just to energize this breaker to be able to have the heater work. We did put a heater in, and it's right there. Now, the thing to keep in mind on that is one of those two hoses is silicone, and one is just regular fuel injection hose, 3/8, because one comes off of the turbocharger here. There's coolant going into the turbocharger, or right here, coming in from the engine block, and then it exits the turbocharger. And this needs to be a high temperature hose because it gets really hot right here. This 3/8 hose goes right into the firewall and to the heater. So we got to make sure that that one never gets blocked. So, you want to let the flow through the heater all the time. Don't put a valve in it because you'll be starving your turbocharger for coolant. And it is also the best place to get your heat instantly because, of course, the turbocharger heats up instantly. Then the other hose can just be a regular fuel injection hose, and it returns to the engine right there. So that takes care of bleeding the system and the heater and cooling the turbocharger, all with like one circuit without tapping off and doing all kinds of other crazy things. In order to read manifold pressure right where you want it, we ended up drilling and tapping the manifold here. The wall is not that thick, so you got to be careful not to tap it too much. I guess worst case you could put a through fitting there, but in any case, in this case, it worked out just fine. We got the throttle was a little bit different here. Customer wanted to keep the original throttle, so we've got throttle coming in here, torque bar across, and then a single throttle from there. We had to weld on a new ear. I think he's going to do something about this because it's a little bit flimsy right there, but that's not part of like the installation. That's basically how it came. Then from here we have the what I refer to as a real throttle cable and we had to put a new arm on that, which we welded, and then we go from there. And we made a bracket here. Always make sure the dimple is in the groove when you put this kind of stuff together, so the housing doesn't slide. And then this just lays in the cowling actually with loom on it. Works out just fine. And then here we do the same thing. spaced that out a little bit with a little spacer there, a couple of them actually, to clear this. And we did put a little bit Z-bend in that. We shortened this and put a smaller nut on it. So that's pretty tight back there, but very carefully you can space it and get it to fit just right. We did notice that these, after we'd been running it for a while, we went back and snugged all of the clamps for the turbocharger. Obviously the silicone gets a little bit soft, and then after the clamps have been on for a little while, you can go back and tighten them just a little more. Other than that, it's very standard to the other installations we've done. We just finished a prop balance. Here is the turbocharger side of the engine. This is an update we have done, so everybody should get this hose here with these clamps. Just a better hose than what we started out with, and it makes for a better fit. So it should look exactly like that. If you have an older system, let us know. We'll get you the parts for that so you can get that all up to date. Critical. And then of course, other than that, she's ready and already flown it, and we're gonna do a flight with the owner and get him familiar with this stuff, and then off we go. Now, of course, he's not gonna have the VIP prop hooked up, but right now it is for my testing. And we've got battery, fuel alternator and heat, starter key, and throttle and prop, and that's it. So we actually reduced the boost on this engine a little bit because we want to fly with the throttle all the way in and just use the prop for moving or changing the power. So we went with a little bit weaker spring in here, and actually the engine likes it better. It cools better, produces almost the same power, and everything is just kind of nicer because you don't have to manipulate, especially with a VIP, you don't have to manipulate both manifold pressure with the throttle and the propeller. You can just leave the throttle in and just do the propeller if it's just at 50 inches of manifold pressure.